The verdict against Marine Le Pen is, first and foremost, explicit proof that France today is overrun by left-wing fascists. Such is the medical diagnosis of the state's political health. If you prohibit opposition candidates, and not just any opposition figure, but the frontrunner of the presidential election, Le Pen is leading in every poll. If you bar that candidate from participation, it means fascists are running your country. Again, denying real opposition a place on the ballot means fascists are in charge. That is a fact nobody can deny, a scientific thesis. That is the reality of France today. As for the leftists, including our local lefty runaways, these punks are always the same. Greasy-haired, unshaven and strutting around in ankle socks in the dead of winter, freaks the lot of them, and it's no surprise a pile of dog shit these leftists are. And now they're yapping. Oh, so you don't believe in French justice? No, I don't. Why? Because I study the French. Unlike these pea-brains, I'm a researcher. I've written monographs and articles on French history. I've lived and worked in France. I know the French aristocracy, the bourgeoisie, the scientists, the bakers, the paupers, the harlots, the janitors. I know the hotels, the private estates and their domestic habits. I know it all. I've studied France from the Gallic tribes and Roman Gaul, through the Merovingians, the House of Capet and the Valois dynasty. I know France, and my collection is stacked with original French artifacts that you can only dream of. Thus, I'm telling you, today the French judicial system no longer exists to uphold law or justice. Go and search what these words actually mean. We've already been given the necessary data, reports, studies, investigations, all pointing to this. Over the past several months and years, almost 200 members of the European Parliament have faced the exact same administrative charges that have now been weaponized against Le Pen. Now listen closely. Out of those 200 cases, only one made it to court, and it resulted not in a conviction, but in a petty fine. So I ask, why is it that 200 demi-semi-deputies walk away untouched, while the most prominent politician in France, the leader of the presidential race, is the one they go after? Besides, she has no right to appeal, no right to stand for election. Never in world history, let alone the history of France, has anything like this happened. Plus, the evidence presented by the prosecution is complete rubbish. It's already been dissected and proven baseless. Not just far-fetched, but fabricated. As for 200 other similar cases, they have tumbled down. Besides, the only case that actually went to court ended, unlike Le Pen's, with barely a ripple. It involved a socialist who, like any socialist, squandered the public funds entrusted to her. But no one talks about that, just like you've never heard that similar offenses occurred in the European Parliament 200 times already. Think about it. 200 deputies were charged in perfectly identical cases, and only Le Pen faced consequences. Not one of them besides Le Pen. That's all you need to know about French justice. Next, why else do I consider the French court nothing more than a pig's fart? Let me ask, where are those condemned for burning down the Notre Dame Cathedral? The ancient helidom of Paris, of all France, was destroyed by Islamic terrorists, and not a single miscreant has been convicted. No sentences, no indictments, no investigation whatsoever. Not only did the Islamists escape scrutiny, but so did the guards and fire safety authorities. No action, nothing at all. And the damage, unlike Le Pen's case, we're talking billions. And yet, Macron gave the order to the Ministry of the Interior not to investigate the incineration of Notre Dame. I was the one who predicted it, years before it happened, live on the NTV channel. You can easily find this video and watch it. European nations, us included, may bury their heads in the sand, ignoring obvious threats and refusing to name them. But that will only last until the day comes when not 5, not 100, but 1,000 people are slaughtered every single day. When they blow up the Notre Dame, that's when the alarm will finally sound. Let's face the truth. An age-old menace driven by a certain religious ideology has one goal: to conquer all of Europe. Twice they were stopped, at Paris, at Vienna. Now they've been welcomed inside. Look here, where did this new terrorist come from? Somalia. Nobody bombed Somalia. Last week's terrorist, Morocco. Nobody bombed Morocco. What's the common threat? They all follow the same religious ideology. Another degenerate, again an Islamist, who entered France and decapitated a teacher, a Frenchman, a true-born decent Frenchman. And yet his off-scum progenitors, the very ones who beget this swine, still stroll the streets nonchalantly. No one lays a hand on them, yet they are the ones who raised him to become a terrorist. But it is Le Pen who's been stripped of her right to walk safely and run for the presidency. Meanwhile, the invaders can actually take part in elections, despite being enemies of France, of Europe, and all humankind. You need to grasp this properly. This is the reality, the matrix, the technical and biological core of the matter. Everything else, your hysterical rattling, affectations, and leftist drivel ain't worth a damn. Recently, a rally took place near Les Invalides, the Hôtel des Invalides, where Napoleon rests in his tomb. One of the most grandiose and magnificent structures in France. Just across the square, thousands gathered to show their support for Le Pen. I made a post about the event on my Telegram channel. Do subscribe, you'll find a trove of informative, essential and exclusive material there, including photos I took myself. And I'll admit, it caught me off guard. At first glance, it's just a mass gathering in France, but something about it stood out. You know what it was? The whites, the real bona fide Frenchmen, not a single invader in sight. And you know what that means? Le Pen is backed by the real French, the only people who should be deciding the future of France, because the others, they hate France. You see, they simply hate the French, freezing them out, murdering, prowling and oppressing them. That's the new reality in France today. But those who rally for Le Pen, those are the true-born white French. No further inquiries are needed. The true French stand with Le Pen. And no pisshound of a judge, not a single fop in a robe, whether he, she or it has the right to decide for all of France. Same applies for Trump. No one has the authority to nullify his decrees because he is the president the American people elected, decent American citizens, taxpayers. And spare me your backtalk. He is the president, he was fairly elected, so every one of his decrees is perfectly legal. That's that on Le Pen. Of course, she's not perfect, and today I've explained in detail why politicians aren't supposed to be perfect. From my point of view, she's too soft, and I assume there is something about her that resembles our situation with Yavlinsky. by which I mean he's just there to be incorporated. But even so, she's 100 times better than the leftists, Macron and the rest of them. And no, she's not right-wing, she's a centrist, and you'd better start using political terms correctly. Le Pen is a centrist, just like Trump. Trump isn't right-wing either. In fact, he's a classical liberal, what liberals were actually meant to be for the past 250 years, not whatever you think they are, judging by the past 15 or 20 years. Today's liberal is merely a term the leftists have stolen, because theft is what they used to do. Leftists are thieves. They steal your property, your taxes, and even terminology. Trump is a genuine liberal, one who stands for personal liberty, so the government doesn't wreck your country, doesn't loot your income, nor tramples your freedom of speech.